Hi, I'm Linda and welcome back to my kitchen. I've got my English apron on today. Victory is in the kitchen. It's an old World War II slogan. And I personally love aprons, so I've kind of collected them over the years. Before I get started on any recipe, and today we're going to be making chocolate chip crumble bars, which I know I say this all the time, but it's one of my favorites. It's so simple to do and taste amazing, and what more could you ask for in a recipe, right? So before I get started, I'd like to make sure that I have all of the ingredients, which I'll go over in a minute. I like to make sure my hands are thoroughly washed with soap after I put my hair back, so I don't end up with hair in the bars. I preheat my oven for this recipe to 350 degrees. So I think those are the things I need to do before I get started. The tools I'll be using for this recipe are a mixing bowl, a spatula, a knife, a teaspoon and a 1 cup measuring cup, beaters, and a 9x13 pan. The ingredients that we need today are 1 cup of butter, 1 cup of packed brown sugar. Brown sugar is always packed in every recipe. A teaspoon of vanilla, 2 cups of flour, and 1 cup of chocolate chips. The recipes I always put in the description under the video so that you can find them there at any time. So I think we're ready to go ahead and get started. For this recipe, you need softened butter, and I forgot to soften the butter, so I'm going to do a little bit of trial and error today and see what it takes to soften butter in the microwave without melting it. No guarantees, but I'll see what works for my microwave, and you can try it for yours, because I'm willing to bet there are times when you need butter for a recipe and you don't take it out ahead of time and it needs to be softened. So maybe together we can figure out the best way to do that. I'm going to start by cutting this into smaller pieces with the assumption that it will melt quicker. And by melt, I mean soften. First thing I'm going to do is try it on power 4 for 1 minute and see what happens. Okay, so I've got my butter here and it's actually looking pretty good. Some of it is on the verge of melting, so we caught it just before. And I was thinking that for some reason butter these days seems to be a lot harder, even at room temperature, than it used to be. So even if you're working with room temperature butter, you might want to put it in your microwave to soften it up just a little bit, maybe power 4 for about 15-20 seconds, just to soften it a little bit. I think that we should be good with this, so I'm going to go ahead and put it in my bowl. And to the butter, I'm going to add 1 cup of packed brown sugar. And notice I always keep a crust of bread in with my brown sugar to keep it nice and soft. If my brown sugar starts to harden up again, I just put a fresh crust in there. And don't worry, the crust never goes moldy because it dries out instead. I always like to finish out my container of something before I add a new bag to it so that I don't have 3-year-old brown sugar in the bottom of my container. Looks though like I'm going to need to replace this one. Okay. Sounds like my oven's ready. And 1 teaspoon of vanilla. So these first 3 ingredients then get creamed together with my beaters. So I'm going to go ahead and do that now. Okay, this looks creamed to me. It's fairly smooth. So I only need to add 2 more ingredients, and that is 2 cups of flour, and 1 cup of chocolate chips. Use my beaters again. You have to be careful when you're dealing with a lot of flour, because if you beat even at a low speed, you can get flour spraying all over the place. And it really doesn't take that long to mix these ingredients by hand. So I'm just going to go ahead and do that now. This is pretty well mixed together now. It looks like your typical cookie dough. And so all that's left to do is to dump this in the pan, spread it out, and pack it down evenly. Then we're gonna cook it. This is going to be so great. These squares pack so quickly and easily into the pan. Takes less than a minute. Then they go in the oven for 22 minutes and they're done. And when they're cool, you're gonna cut them into squares and everyone is gonna love them. So these are ready to go in the oven now. Put them in and I'll see you back in 22 minutes. Okay, I actually took this out at 21 minutes because I could see that the edges are really starting to golden up there. And so this was definitely ready to come out of the oven. And the middle, if it's not quite done, will cook just a little bit more. But this looks to be just about how you want your cookies, your bars to look. So now you want to let them cool and then cut them and eat them. They're going to be hugely popular. I guarantee it. Really simple, fun, easy recipe that tastes great. So please make this recipe, and if you like it, feel free to share it with others. Feel free to subscribe to my channel if you would like more recipes like this. And thanks for watching.